Joining us now is Kachi Ofia, and together we'll be catching the flow of stories trending around the world. Hello, Kachi. Please catch it and let's flow.
Good morning, Dr. Abati.
How are you?
Good morning, Tundu, and good morning, Rafai. I hope you all had an amazing weekend. Good morning, viewers. I hope you had an amazing weekend as well. Let's begin looking at the trending topics today in Nigeria. Now, social media was abuzz over the weekend following the very glamorous wedding ceremony of President Muhammed Buhari's son, of course, Yusuf, to his wife, Zara. That, of course, is the daughter of the Emir of Bichi. Now, this wedding ceremony, which was attended by dignitaries from various parts of the country, had so many talking points and mouth-watering moments. Meanwhile, controversial Islamic cleric Sheikh Ahmad Gumi faulted Nigerian politicians for hiring private jets to attend the wedding of President Muhammed Buhari's son, while hundreds of school children are languishing in kidnappers' den. Now, the wedding, which topped trends on social media platforms, had users question the Islamic police as well, Hisbah, over its silence. Now, there were so many videos that we saw from this wedding, beginning with the video of Mayor Kun's performance. Mayor Kun was actually at the wedding reception, and there were, there was a lot of singing and dancing. With regards to the music, the very controversial Naira Marley song, Coming, which I'm sure we already know has been banned on various platforms because of its explicit nature. It was the toast of the entire ceremony, people singing, dancing. Let's not even begin to talk about the outfits that, we saw at the wedding. So for a lot of people, they feel that the Hisbah police is just cherry picking. This is the same Hisbah police that literally destroyed about over 500 bottles of beer because of its, beliefs. This is the same Hisbah police that has sanctioned people for various things, eating during fasting, wearing certain outfits. Rahama Sadao wore an outfit for a photo shoot, and that outfit, as a result of that, what she was wearing, she was fined. She was asked to step away from Kannywood for a while. She was asked to take down the picture. She was subjected to so much social media scrutiny, she had to take a break from social media. So people are now asking, how is it possible that all of a sudden they are not seeing what is going on here? And then, of course, you have Sheikh Gumi as well speaking about the private jets. I mean, it's no longer news. As much as we might not speak about it so much in detail, there are issues within Nigeria. And for one, I once believed that leadership was a sacrificial job. It was something that you do to ensure your people are fine. So how is it possible that in a country where people are being killed in Benue, people are being kidnapped, and families are having to sell their lands, their properties, to raise funds to secure the release of their children, we have that? I mean, I'm all for celebration, but just understand why people are upset. These are our leaders compared to the level of standard of living, rather, of the people.
Well, this for me was a moment of tone-deaf ostentation, reminiscent of the Marie Antoinette "let them eat cake," which she actually never said, out to be historically accurate. But it was believed that she said it. And what happened? Her and her husband were dragged to a guillotine and they lost their heads. And that's been the same all through history. Revolutions, uprisings happen when the leadership is felt to be ostentatious, felt to be corrupt. We see there's so many examples, Shah of Iran, Batista, so many throughout history all over the world. So I think that our leaders should be that much more sensitive, if not because they care for the people that they're leading, which we all have to wonder whether or not they do, but even for their own selfish reasons, just to maintain their positions, just show a little bit of restraint. Yes, the president's son married a princess, and everybody wants a wedding fit for a princess. She literally is a princess. But in this case, her prince is the son of a president of a country which is in the throes of one crisis after another. It just looks bad. The optics are shockingly bad. And I agree with Sheikh Gumi on this. It smacks of insensitivity. As for Hisbah, people talking about Hisbah, once bitten, twice shy. You may recall in 2017 that the governor of Sokoto, Governor Tambawal's daughter, the Hisbah sort of overreached themselves by going to seize the musical instruments of the performers at that wedding, and he disbanded them. So I think that's why they have learned where to draw the line. They tend to just now turn to people, poor traders, and destroy their alcohol, young men with mohawks. That's where they restrain themselves. They know their level. Well,
as for the Hisbah, the hypocrisy is writ large. You will recall that when, the latest couple in town, Muhammad Buhari and Zera Buhari now, the princess of Bishi, when they had their traditional wedding ceremony in the first week of August, there were complaints by the Isba in Kano State about the fact that she wore a particular dress, and also that the photos of the wedding were distributed. And the Isba made a point at the time that nobody is above the law, and that, whether you are highly placed or you are lowly placed, then of course the Isba law will apply to you. And we talked about how the Isba has turned itself into a moral police, and how the Isba in Kano, led by Ibn Shina, Sheikh Ibn Shina, has been very dramatic in its, interventions which amount to violation of person's right of choice. Now, just, a few days down the line, the same Isba has been conveniently, quiet. Photos of the wedding in Bishi have been distributed, and, they have not had anything to say about either the kind of music that was played or those who performed at the after party. You refer to Naira Marley. Naira Marley is very excited that his song was featured at that wedding. And he says, look, he is accepted all over the country, including northern Nigeria. But I don't know whether, either the husband or the new wife will come forward to identify themselves publicly as Malians. And if they say that they are Malians, well, I would like to see how the Hisbah police will deal with that. You know what it means to be a Malian in Nigerian popular parlance. As for Sheikh Gumi, well, Sheikh Gumi did not say anything that is original. He was complaining about poor leadership in Nigeria. And this is the same thing we've been talking about in this country since Wole Soyinka's The Dance of the Forest, since Chinua Achebe's The Trouble with Nigeria. That the biggest problem with Nigeria is a problem of leadership. That this alienation between the people and those who lead them, this insensitivity on the part of the ruling elite. He was saying that, in fact, the political leadership in Nigeria has also corrupted the clergy. And he was speaking at the mosque where he was giving a sermon. So you should know the extent to which politicians have also corrupted, religious leaders in this country. So this is the big dilemma that we deal with, whether it's a case of, the ruling elite storming a wedding in a particular part of the country with an array of private jets. Someone once said Nigeria has the largest number of private jets in Africa. And this is a country, however, where there is poverty, where we cannot even distribute conditional cash transfer funds very well, where we cannot even do a meter access program, in a smooth manner, and yet we see this sensation, we see work. The only difference, however, that you can put here is that was public funds involved, because that was, Sheikh Gumi's point, that, you can't use public funds, but those people went there with private jets. Did they go with public funds? Maybe perhaps these are private funds that have been deployed, but it's just the near look of it. But however, we congratulate the couple. They have a right to start a life. They also have a right to move on in life, whether, they are royalty or not.
You see, what scares me about Nigeria is that we keep building chateaus of hypocrisy. So I hope the country doesn't turn into one big chateau of hypocrisy one day. It's so easy for Sheikh Gumi to come out and say this, yes, it's good what he said. But why didn't he come out to condemn this Operation Sulu or Peace, that they are now renting big homes for bandits and giving them a lot of money to live by? Why? Why didn't he come out to condemn it? Why didn't he come out to tell the bandits to return the money to the federal government? And why did he come out to condemn the federal government to stop that? Yeah. There are a lot of children that have been left to their own fate. Their parents now have to pay millions of naira to put them out. While, the king celebrates, they have a big party and they enjoy themselves like nothing is happening. I mean, if you've seen that wedding and they tell you that 100 million people live in poverty in Nigeria, you will not believe, because that's affluence at its finest, and these people don't care. And there are many shades of hypocrisy. There were some people too that attended that wedding that they said some people were criminals, were terrorists in the past, they'll never talk to them again. They were seen in photos with those same people. You know what I mean? So let's continue this, grand hypocrisy and see how it leads us. Politicians will never care about the people. It's always been the case. I think somebody once said, politicians and bankers are the same. They give you an umbrella when it's sunny and they take it when it's raining. That's all they do. And that's their life. It's never about the interests of the people. It's always about them in the end. And just like Charles de Gaulle did say, politicians say they'll build bridges where there are no rivers. So it's always about what comes to them in the end. Amidst all of the wranglings going on in the country, the fact that we can account for over 4 trillion that have been sent to MDAs, and the shocking thing, even in that report, that some MDAs, they couldn't account properly for their funds. The name of EFCC was mentioned in there. So it's just a grand scheme of hypocrisy in the end. And what else shall I say? Hisba police, is it not a creation of politicians? No politicians control the Hisba police. So who do they beat up? The downtrodden in the society. So it's a society that is skewed for the rich. And that's why when you hear in our songs, you hear things like, if you don't get money, hide your face. It's a society that favors those that are rich, and the poor should go and die. But the question is, let's go back and look at history. We've always seen how societies like that turned out. So we talked about Marie Antoinette and Louis XVI, how it went. Louis XVI at some point was having a party every day, was having a party for waking up in the morning while the Parisians suffered. So we saw how it went. So at some point, society will level itself out. They should just keep continuing. They should just keep doing whatever they're doing.
It's an absolute mess. Let's take another sad story where an aggrieved final year students, or not just one, in fact, students of government secondary school in a local government area, that's Agbaregba, Konshisha, local government area of Benue State, on Sunday set their school ablaze. Now, according to witnesses, the students were grieved over the failure of the of the school authorities to validate their registration for the WAEC, that is the West African Examination Council. Now, the witness narrated that SS3 students had registered for this year's West African Senior School Certificate Examination, and then their names were published successfully on WAEC's website. Trouble, however, started when the school was informed that the school does not have enough computers to pair the number of transferred students and registered students, rather. According to another report, the students raised the administrating block of the school, and valuables, including certificates which date back to the 1990s, were all destroyed. Before we talk about this situation, we're going to take a quick break on the morning show. And when we get back, we'll pick up where we left off. Stay with us. It's still the morning show here on Arise News. You're welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Just before we went on that quick break, we're speaking about SS3 students that razed their school with fire as a result of the fact that the school did not have enough computers to pair with the number of students in order for them to write their WAEC examinations. Rifai, I'd like you to, pick up on this conversation and give your thoughts on it. It's sad.
It's
pathetic.
sad. It's sad. But what I'll ask those students is the solution to a headache cutting off the head? No. Yeah, we know the system has failed. We know the educational system has failed. We say it's now time to write WAEC online. You expect schools to have computer sets, but you don't have it. Then burning the ones you have before, is that the solution? No. I mean, it just goes to show the dystopia and the dysfunction that goes on in society, in our society today. It's just very sad. But most importantly, it goes back to that need for investment in education. There is a need for investment in education because we forget that that's the only thing that can assure the future. Even if parents leave a lot of money over for their children, it will not assure the future except they get an education. So it's something we should look at critically, not in support of the students, but those in authority should do the needful as regards education.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, because you were mentioning names. So the issue was there was not enough computers for the school to be a center. So the examining body, and you can't blame the examining body for having these stringent conditions, because I imagine what they're trying to do is curb exam malpractice, which is another scourge that we face here. So they were to be cancelled as a center and fined 1 million naira. The principal managed to prevail upon them. And then the next condition was the school needs to have a perimeter fence, which again, you cannot blame the examining body for wanting that security in view of the security challenges that we have and at attacks on schools. The school wasn't able to meet that. So it was now decided by the PTA to postpone the exams, and some students got upset and in their misguided anger, and it really is misguided anger, decided to commit the crime of arson. It is a crime and they should be charged, because it's completely unacceptable to then decide to destroy property just because you are angry. Completely misguided anger. I understand the frustrations, but we must be law-abiding, and you cannot be encouraged. It must never be a case where we just talked about Sheikh Gumis. We don't need a case of the Gumis in this situation where we start to say, oh, pat their heads, oh, it's because you were upset, you couldn't do your exams. You could have done the exams next year. So this is really unfortunate, and it has to be treated as the crime that it is.
Yes, one, it's a crime. It's arson. And it's also a case of juvenile delinquency. These are children that are probably between the ages of 15 or 16. That's about the age when you are leaving secondary school. And then you have this group of minors who are so criminally minded that when they are aggrieved, they just resort to self-help. And this is a reflection of what goes on in the general society. I think the older generation has failed the younger generation. Parents have set very bad example for their own children. That's one level of it. And I think that, those who did this should be identified and they should be punished. And the kind of pictures we have been seeing, those pictures don't look quite impressive. This doesn't look like a modern school, a properly built school. Now, WAEC was saying that they must have at least 150 students. There should be enough computers. There should be perimeter fencing. But the parents came together and said they will not be able to meet this until maybe 2022. And that's what provoked those students. Well, you may say at one level that that's like losing a whole year. WASC exams are usually taken around June. This year, it was moved to August. And so it's like asking those young persons to stay home for a whole year, to have an additional academic session, to go through what may amount to a compulsory SSS 4 instead of graduating at SS3. So, but that in itself is no justification for the kind of behavior that they have put up. And I hope also that WAEC, will reconsider his position. What option is available to WAEC? These students could have been sent to another center or another school where the conditions that WAEC is talking about, are available. But to just deny them a whole academic session and keep them for another 1 year may not have been the best consideration. There may have been breakdown of communication between the school authorities, the PTA, and WAEC, but this could have been handled differently to prevent this kind of situation.
Absolutely, you could have. Well, let's move to our final story today, where reactions and congratulatory messages continue to pour in for the crowned 21st Olu of Warri, His Royal Majesty Ogiame Otuwase III, following his well-attended coronation on Saturday. Now, while the much-talked about coronation of the 37-year-old monarch continues to make the headlines, a video of former president and head of state Olusegun Obasanjo bowing to the king trended on social media. The video of the 87-year-old statesman paying homage to the Olu of Warri has now elicited conversation on the African cultural heritage. Let's take a look at that video.
Okay, well, I don't know why people are surprised about this. I've seen so many comments on social media. I've seen so many, this video like this circulated everywhere. People should realize that Chief Olusegun Obasanjo is also a community leader, a traditional leader, the Balogun of Owu, the Jagumolu of Egbaland, and a man who has respect for tradition and customs. This is not the first time he will pay this kind of homage to a traditional ruler. He did it when the present Agura of Bagura ascended the throne of Bagura in, I think 2 years ago, in 2019. And he went there, he prostrated. Meanwhile, he's probably the biggest figure from that part of the town in Abeokuta, When the Oni of Ife also ascended the throne, the Oni of Ife is also a young man, he prostrated, to him. And now he has done it again in Ode Shekiri. The whole point is that in African cultural belief, gods are not just, occupying the seat. They are representatives of the gods. And so the homage that President Obasanjo was paying there was for that throne, for the ancestors represented by the Olu of Warri. His age doesn't matter in this particular case. There's even a popular song by one of our musicians that you don't greet a king standing up. You don't greet a king squatting. You have to bow down and pay proper homage to a king. I don't want to sing on television so that I don't get attacked for having a croaky voice.
You're depriving us of your dulcet tones, and I'd like to hear that. But I also don't understand the hue and cry. It's perfectly in order. This is how to greet a king. And the Olu of Warri, he delivered such a great speech. I enjoyed that speech. I was having a conversation recently, about 2 weeks ago, about the Gettysburg Address. I mean, what do you guys think is the greatest political address of all time? The Gettysburg Address or the Gettysburg Address? Because frankly, that's the only option. And I was discussing about whether or not political speeches make that much of an impact nowadays, where we're also distracted by TV, social media, whatever. And there comes this speech by the Olu of Warri, and I thought, yes, speeches do matter. They still matter. I thought it was rousing. The phrasing was perfect, was spot on. And in his mother tongue, I just want to say, do you want to say it with me? But
I have issues with that speech. But I'm not sure whether we have enough time. It sounded too Pentecostal. The man who is sitting on the throne of the ancestors.
I knew you were going to go there. I knew you would go there.
And when his father, was on the throne, that was also an issue when he wanted to be a born-again Christian. Yeah. So there may be people in that part of the world who are not pleased.
Why ever not? What's wrong with standing Pentecostal?
Speaking of his father, that time was really hot. There were protests, actually, and they had to douse it. In fact, there were threats to burn the palace as regards that. So. But really quickly, for me, yes, congratulations, Ogiame, but you have a divided Ishekiri nation. Please go back and unite the Ishekiri nation. That's the takeaway for me. You have a divided Ishekiri nation. You have an Ishekiri nation where 2 other princes had police warrants for them 2 days before the coronation. It's a divided house. We can't deceive ourselves. And I know you are the man to unite it. So go call your brothers and sit down on the table of unity and unite that place.
Yeah, I guess that's the point. And for the first time in almost a century, we have an Olu of Warri whose mother is alive and well.
It was beautiful.
Iyolu, congratulations.
He paid such a tribute to his mother. I thought it was perfect.
Absolutely.
It was wonderful. Great speech,
Well, thank you very much, Kachi. Thank you for catching the flow of the program so very well, as always. Thanks you very much.
Thanks for having me.